Your home for our Atlanta Falcons, Hawks, and Atlanta United. Your teams play here. Sports Radio 92.9, The Game.
We are Dukes and Bell. We start off every day and every hour by saying, hey, man. Glad to have you here. Lots of stuff going on around the NFL. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. He's done for the season, but does he try to make a return? We'll find out more. As Robert Saleh has said today, this is Zach Wilson's team. We have a chance to catch up with the voice of our Atlanta Falcons. He is Wes Durham, and he joins us here on the waitforward.com hotline. And Wes, first and foremost, I want to get your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers as we get into the Falcons, and then we'll talk about week 2 with the Green Bay Packers coming up. But last night, I think the entire NFL felt that as Aaron Rodgers went down.
Yeah, no question. And, my goodness, it turned into like theater at parts, right? Because you weren't sure, how it was going to be handled at least early on. And then what would Zach Wilson be like? And here's Josh Allen in Buffalo, who, people certainly think are one of the premier teams in the AFC. And then he starts throwing interceptions, and all of a sudden you got a fourth quarter where Wilson's got to make some plays. And in the end, college free agent from Sam Houston State runs a punt back to win it, right? So you had all the drama in addition to the Aaron Rodgers injury. But New York played with confidence late, and that's probably a byproduct of Rodgers being around. And I do believe Wilson played differently than he did at any point last night. Question is, can you keep that going? But I know one thing, Aaron Rodgers didn't play defense, and they were pretty damn good on that side of the ball last night.
Right. They got great running game. We were drawing the parallels, West, to them and the Ravens, those great early 2000s teams. If the kid could just avoid, right, just avoid the turnovers.
Yeah, no, there's some truth to the Trent Dilfer, Joe Flacco, was it Brad Johnson who won it with Tampa Bay, right?
Yep.
I mean, your defense is good enough. Sometimes, that can happen. I remember Jeff Hostetler won a Super Bowl, guys. Don't ever forget that. I mean, it's possible if you got the Lawrence Taylors and the Harry Carsons and the Carl Bankses of the world lining up, I guess.
Yep.
All right, well, let's talk about week 1. I love the fact that we won. I love the fact.
So do I. I think that's really important.
It is.
I think that's a determining factor at the end of the day, Carl. Last time I checked it, it kind of counts whether you win or lose.
Big part of the process.
It's all that matters. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about all this other stuff, but I've said it. I don't care if we win by half a point. But with that said, one of the questions, as we've gone through these last few days coming off of Sunday, Wes, has been the offense and what it looked like and why some guys were involved more than others. And I just keep saying, to Falcon fans, this is the first week. Ebbs and flows. We got to get into a rhythm. And, for all the things that we're talking about, last night I'm watching that game and I see Josh turn it over 4 times. Our guys not turned it over in 5 games.
Well, not only that, you also had a fact that you created turnovers. And that was something that this team had a hard time doing the last couple of years, was creating turnovers. Mm-hmm. Now, Jesse Bates was involved in all of them, but that's why I thought he was the most important guy you signed in the offseason, quite frankly, was that guy. I mean, he's a winner, guys. I mean, and now I know it's not a, sexy skill position that people oftentimes put as the marquee, but Jesse Bates knows he's wired to do this. And, I mean, I'm excited about his arrival as much as I am anybody else. And I think the one thing you're going to see is the steps that, are going to happen here are going to be sometimes very slow. Sometimes you may get a leap or a jump out of this. But, what we saw the other day, there were some frustrations in terms of being able to do what they wanted to do. But give Carolina credit, too. I mean, that's a good group over there. And Brian Burns wanted to get paid, so he played pretty well.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Chin was a factor early. But to Arthur's credit and Dave Ragone's credit, the more the game went on, the less factor Jeremy Chin was. And I think that, there's a chance based on what you saw with Tyler and Bijan together. I think you got a chance to see a two-back formation and a two-back package, maybe a little more offense as we move forward. But all that being said, you won the game. And granted, it may not have been as dominant as other people wanted, but reality was, you made plays at the end too, and I can't tell you how good the throw to Pitts was, right, at the end. I mean, the throw in the fourth quarter to Kyle Pitts.
Right.
Yeah, the catch was unbelievable. The throw was unbelievable. There's an end zone cut on the line of the throw, and it's unbelievable. It's a great throw, and he throws it to where 8 can only go get it. I mean, Kyle got it between two guys, and that was a hell of a play on his part too. It's
Wes Durham with us, guys. You'll have the call with him and Arch coming up on Sunday against the Packers. We'll talk about the matchup issues that they present in a minute. Wes, we echo the sentiments of Coach Charter. We're going to apologize for a win, especially when you hadn't had one since like 2017 in week one. But getting the skill position players, I think some of this was, and I'll ask you the question, was there a hesitancy to be as aggressive as we'd like to because you just felt you wouldn't have the pocket to do the things you wanted to in some of those situations?
Again, Mike, I think there's different – it's a different fight depending on who you're with, right? And Carolina presents a lot of problems, especially in the front seven. I thought Atlanta tried to mitigate those problems. And then the one thing that I was impressed with is how they kind of, limited Carolina in the run game. You saw one or two runs over 10 yards, but you didn't see three or four. And I thought they were going to, if Carolina was going to win the game, they were going to make Bryce Young beat you, right?
Right.
So defensively, I think they counterpunched with what they could do offensively. And sometimes that's going to go hand in hand. Now, Carolina had some early momentum and obviously got the touchdown to Hurst and things of that nature. But I was kind of pleased with the process and the fact they came out of there, especially in the fourth quarter, where they were able to kind of dictate things. It didn't feel to me in the fourth quarter like Atlanta was being dictated to by Carolina. And there's been times in the last couple of years that it's felt that way, but not Sunday. Sunday felt like that Atlanta was the better team and Atlanta was controlling the game, especially when we got inside the last 10 minutes or so.
So, coming up, we got No.
Here we go.
No,
Jordan Love.
Yeah, I was impressed. I'm not going to lie. It's week one.
No, you should have been.
He looked really good, and I think, he's coming in with some confidence. And so, that's exactly where I was going. You read my mind. Tell me what you think.
I think he's a talented guy. I think Matt LaFleur, who was here, was a good coach, right? I think there's all sorts of things about Green Bay that give you pause for concern on Sunday. But I also think, too, that I'm not sure they're as good defensively as Atlanta saw last Sunday. I mean, they may be. But, see, that's the other thing, too. And we find ourselves in this situation with the college game, and yet we quickly do it after 1 week in the NFL, too, where we make, referendums about who somebody is after their first 60 minutes. And Rich McKay said this on Sunday, and he reminded me of this. The last time Atlanta went to the Super Bowl, they lost the opener. When Tampa went to the Super Bowl with that team that Rich had, and he was the GM for, they lost their first game too. So I'm going to be interested to see kind of where Atlanta moves in the next couple of weeks. That's why, I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about those first 6 games, Carl, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I am with this. I've still kind of got it in that file to say, okay, where are they after the first 6 games? Because if you look at those first 6, you really get a test not only, okay, you've already played your division game. Now you're going to play 2 straight weeks of teams in the NFC North, okay? And you're going to play Detroit and Green Bay, who, quite frankly, are probably the favorites, given the landscape. One of those two is probably the favorites. And then you're going to go to London and play a team that I think is the favorite in the AFC South. Now, Anthony Richards is trying to change everybody's mind after a week, but I still think Jacksonville's got a real chance to win that. And then you're going to come back and play Texans and Commanders in consecutive weeks. So let's see where we are after those 6 games. But I think Green Bay is going to be talented. Jordan Love is talented. I'm interested to see more about what they are defensively. I've looked at a little bit of the Chicago games the other day, and I got to be honest with you. We get in some of these games now. Like, how do you feel about a team after a week and you think you're pretty good, and then you get to the second week and you go, well, that crowd we played week 1 wasn't very good. This group is. I happen to think Carolina was really good on defense. Is Green Bay? I don't know that yet, but we get to find out on Sunday, and I think if Atlanta can take advantage of what they learned last week, got a chance to win the game. And by the way, I thought the crowd was great in the second half and kind of helped the momentum of the building. Even we're way up where Mike's at. It was good.
We're bringing the heat, man. No, the crowd was juiced up. There was energy and everything. No, I mean, and I joked about it with Carl yesterday. Turned to a guy from Carolina. You don't really have this stuff up in Charlotte, do you? As far as the swag and the juice and the energy. Wes, you said it. We said it all week. We've seen Derek Brown kicking our butts for years. And Brian Burns brought it. But the thing which I'm more concerned with is we couldn't generate any pass rush until we started blitzing. So how does that ramp up, or does Nielsen change the approach for Green Bay?
I don't know that it depends on kind of where Green Bay's personnel is, but you're right. And that was a concern, no question, that you had to bring the extra guy to get home defensively. And, how far back can you go based on what you've installed? I'm not sure about that. But I think Ryan's a guy who can also look at his personnel, too, and factor in to say, okay, I thought Ebiketie was around the ball a lot. I did not call Onyemata's name as much as I thought I would. But when I did, it was late in the game, and he was stuffing two guys. And I'm as interested to see how the defensive side evolves. And the jury's kind of out for me on both sides of this because it's been one game. But I like what I saw, especially late from the defense. And, I'll go back to the Bates playmaking all you want to because I just think that guy's that guy. And I think he's a huge, huge piece of where we can go as a football team here this year.
I agree. Wes, great call. Enjoyed it, and looking forward to week 2 as we start to gear up for.
You guys seen any of that laundry Frankie Louvu left on the field with Bijan Shaka, by the way?
Yeah, man, that was gold. I mean, that was great. We're going to see plenty more of that, baby.
Woo! I hope so.
Son.
I hope so. Hey, Wes, we got to run, man. Thank you so much as always. By the way, we're going to do this each and every week with Wes, guys, so we'll get a chance to hear from the voice of our Atlanta Falcons. Take care, buddy.
Take care, guys.
All right. Cool.